At one point last night, stewards were overrun by fans. 19 police officers were injured in London and 49 arrests were made. In the last hour, the Metropolitan Police said some of the fans' behaviour was unacceptable. Simon Harris has more.
Sometimes the beautiful game shows its ugly side, and last night it was on display for all to see. This was the moment fans without tickets broke through Wembley's flimsy ring of steel. Seizing the opportunity, they raced for the stairs and into the stadium. There was little, if anything, the stewards could do.
Basically, they kicked the gates down and they kicked over security guards, pushed over people. They're trying to steal people's accreditation.
Inside, fans could be seen fighting with fans. Punches were thrown and kicks delivered. Thousands more without tickets were content to stay outside. They just wanted to be at Wembley. But even here, there were pockets of aggression. One man appeared to throw a burning firework towards a group of spectators. And a Boris bike, for no obvious reason, was repeatedly thrown into the air and then stamped upon.
Clearly, there were some challenges and some of the behaviour that officers encountered was unacceptable. But at no point did we lose control and at no point did things get so out of hand that police were unable to cope.
But there are fears the fallout from these images might be long-lasting. The Euros were seen as a chance for London to showcase its credentials as a host city for major sporting events. Boris Johnson is lobbying for the World Cup in 2030, and Sadiq Khan has got his eye on another Olympics. As an advert for London, last night wasn't good.
It was such a big opportunity for London, and that with the world watching us, we didn't do what we needed to do, and that's really upsetting to see. And that's why the Mayor needs to urgently call a review with the Met, with the FA, and they need to sit down and thrash out how this happened and make sure that can never happen again, because we need to prove to the world that London is capable of these big events.
But one seasoned football campaigner is more optimistic about how much damage has been done to London's reputation.
I don't think it'll affect the 2030 World Cup, and I think we'll put in a proper bid, and I think we must have quite a good chance of winning, given the way that we've been treated in earlier years.
Last night's violence wasn't confined to Wembley. Thousands of fans headed for bars and pubs in the West End. Police in riot gear had to be called in. Senior officers admit the large number of supporters turning up at the stadium without tickets took them by surprise. There were more than 80 arrests. 19 police officers were injured. Simon Harris, ITV News, Wembley.
Good evening. The clean-up operation has started after flash floods caused chaos across London. A month's worth of rain fell in just 2 hours, turning roads to rivers, pouring through shop fronts and into basements, destroying businesses, livelihoods and memories. North and West London were the worst hit, with extraordinary pictures showing water gushing up out of toilets as drains were overwhelmed and cascading downstairs at one tube station. Well, this time yesterday, the network had ground to a halt, unable to cope. Today, the rain is gone, but it'll take much longer to clear up the damage it caused. Our correspondent Simon Harris reports.
Thunder and rainfall. For many Londoners, it was the soundtrack to the storm. In Notting Hill's Portobello Road, the water was soon high enough to flood shops. But in one basement flat, there was a different noise as the toilet began to gurgle.
We stood there and watched while the, shall we say, liquid in the loo arose. And we just ran and went upstairs, and I wasn't dressed. I was in my nightie and dressing gown.
Today, Marion was taking stock.
That's my marriage certificate.
A few doors away, Jean-Christophe, his wife Amandine, and their two chefs were also counting the cost. They moved here from France 5 years ago to set up an award-winning bakery. But Jean-Christophe's precious £50,000 oven is almost certainly beyond repair.
It's very difficult, yeah, because all of money is here. That's it. We need to go up with my staff, because we have a very, very good staff. All staff is coming yesterday for try with the bucket for take off the water. But it's very difficult, yeah.
Jean-Christophe has no idea when his business will reopen. According to the Met Office, a month's worth of rain fell in just 2 hours. As homes and businesses were swamped, more than 1,000 999 calls were made to the fire brigade. Across West London, the flash flood left a trail of destruction. This was Hampstead. In Rains Park, 2 cars and a van were abandoned by their drivers beneath a bridge. In Maida Vale, the sheer force of water in the drains turned manhole covers into geysers. Commuters struggled to navigate the A40 during the evening rush hour. And parts of the underground and rail network went into meltdown. This was Sloane Square station. Not surprisingly, the District line came to a standstill as signals began to fail. Thameslink trains were also disrupted when the tracks flooded at Belsize Park. For most, the floods brought misery, although 2 swimmers made the most of a pop-up pond in Barnes, water quality unknown.
The remains of my childhood photograph albums.
The voice might sound familiar. It's Brian May. The Queen guitarist and his partner Anita Dobson came back to this at their Kensington home.
My bottom floor of the house is covered in black sewage.
Drive slowly!
In Brentford, neighbours on Windmill Road shared the experience of watching cars causing bow waves which washed into their homes.
A lot of my neighbours had wellies on and no wellies on in the road trying to calm the traffic. It was very difficult.
At her house, Katie used duvets, pillows and a paddling pool to create a flood defence barrier, but it wasn't enough.
It's about a foot high down here, and we tried to start getting our belongings out, but loads of them were already submerged underwater, so loads of our really nostalgic stuff, like our grandparents' things, which was really upsetting.
Tonight, one West London housing association said it had to move 60 tenants into emergency accommodation because of the sudden summer downpour. Simon Harris, ITV News.
Next, scrappage schemes to get rid of old diesel vans, minibuses and lorries have been suspended because so many drivers have tried to cash in on their vehicles before the ultra-low emission zone comes into force in October. From October the 25th, drivers of any old diesels will have to pay £12.50 inside the zone, which extends to the North and South Circular. TfL only has a limited pot of money to pay to scrap older cars, leaving businesses out of pocket. Our political correspondent Simon Harris reports.
It's a good time to be in scrap. At this yard in Wembley, cars are piled high awaiting their turn in the crusher. Business is booming thanks to the proposed expansion of the ultra-low emission zone. Owners who can are taking advantage of payments of up to £2,000 from a Transport for London scrappage scheme.
Some of them, it's like losing a baby. They start photographing the car and they're upset about it. Others just take it and say it's one of those things. The car's got to go, even though it's a good car.
London's ultra-low emission zone was introduced by the Mayor in 2019. It covers the same part of London as the congestion charge zone. But in October, the ULEZ will expand to cover a much wider area, every road inside the North and South Circulars. For Bobby, a self-employed maintenance worker, it means trading in his car or more likely looking for work away from London.
I'm going to lose probably a lot because I pay for the car £2,000. I can't take 200 now, so I have to buy another one, 5, 6, maybe 10,000.
Near the North Circular in Barking, the ULEZ is costing this breakdown recovery firm millions of pounds. Big tow trucks capable of hauling a bus or lorry come with a £250,000 price tag. Smaller vehicles in the fleet also need replacing.
I can understand what the Mayor's trying to do, but I don't really think he understands the impact it has on some of the businesses. A business like ours, where we've got a number of vehicles to replace, we've struggled through COVID, turnovers down.
Transport for London had 3 scrappage schemes, but those for vans and minibuses and heavy vehicles have run out of money.
The scrappage scheme needs to be expanded. We've identified that there's the business rate reserve, which we could use to fund £50 million of further scrappage schemes. That's needed. If Sadiq Khan wants to expand the ultra-low emission zone, at least help make sure that it doesn't hurt the poorest in London.
The Mayor points to findings by Asthma UK and the British Lung Foundation.
More than 500,000 Londoners are now registered with asthma, including myself. And the new research shows that 2/3 of sufferers say their condition is made worse by poor air quality.
When the expanded ULEZ arrives in October, TfL estimates 100,000 cars will have to pay the £12.50 a day charge.
And there will be more on ULEZ in our monthly political programme, The Late Debate, after News at 10 tonight. Simon is in the studio at Westminster with a look at what's coming up on the programme.
On The Late Debate, we'll be asking whether the expansion of the ultra-low emission zone should be postponed. Among the MPs joining me in the studio is Sarah Green after her unexpected by-election win in Chesham and Amersham. By coincidence, the Prime Minister made a speech today in an attempt to reassure Tory voters that levelling up in the north doesn't mean levelling down here. We'll also discuss the emerging fiasco over mask rules. That's The Late Debate here on ITV after News at 10.